The post-World War II order, carefully constructed on the principles of collective security, multilateralism, and U.S. leadership, is facing its most serious challenge yet. For decades, this order has provided a framework for international cooperation and stability, ensuring that conflicts were managed through dialogue and mutual understanding. The geopolitical landscape is shifting, with power dynamics in flux and traditional alliances strained. Emerging powers are asserting themselves on the global stage, challenging the status quo and seeking to redefine the rules of engagement. At the heart of this uncertainty lies a fundamental question: what is the future of European security? The continent, once a battleground for the world's most devastating conflicts, now finds itself at a crossroads. The presidency of Donald Trump, with its disruptive impact on transatlantic relations and its questioning of long-held assumptions about the U.S. role in the world, has brought this question into sharp focus. His administration's policies have often been at odds with the principles that have underpinned the post-war order. The post-war consensus, which saw the United States as the guarantor of European security and the leader of the free world, has been shaken. This consensus was built on the belief that the U.S. would always stand by its European allies, a belief that is now being questioned. Trump's America First rhetoric and his transactional approach to foreign policy have left European allies questioning the reliability of U.S. commitments. This has led to a growing sense of unease and a reevaluation of Europe's strategic priorities. This uncertainty has been further compounded by Trump's personal affinity for authoritarian leaders like Vladimir Putin, raising concerns about a potential realignment of global power. The implications of such a shift are profound, potentially altering the balance of power in ways that could destabilize the international system. As Europe grapples with these new realities, it is faced with a stark choice: to either retreat into a fortress Europe, hoping to weather the storm of global instability, or to forge a new path forward, or to step up and take on a more assertive role in shaping the international order. This would require a significant shift in mindset and policy, moving away from reliance on the U.S. and towards greater self-reliance and leadership. The path that Europe chooses will have profound implications, not only for its own security, but for the future of the liberal international order itself. The decisions made in the coming years will shape the geopolitical landscape for decades to come. The stakes are high, and the time for decision is now. Europe must navigate this new era of uncertainty with wisdom and foresight, ensuring that it remains a pillar of stability in an increasingly unpredictable world. The election of Donald Trump in 2016 marked a watershed moment in transatlantic relations. Trump's America First worldview, rooted in a skeptical view of international institutions and alliances, represented a stark departure from the bipartisan consensus that had underpinned U.S. foreign policy for decades. Central to Trump's worldview was a rejection of the notion of the United States as an indispensable nation, obligated to underwrite the security of its allies and to uphold the liberal international order. Instead, Trump viewed the world through a transactional lens, prioritizing narrow national interests and demanding that allies pay their fair share for U.S. protection. This transactional approach was evident in Trump's repeated criticism of NATO allies for not meeting their defense spending commitments. Trump's attacks on NATO, which he once described as obsolete, undermined confidence in the alliance and raised questions about the U.S. commitment to Article 5, the collective defense clause that forms the cornerstone of NATO. Furthermore, Trump's personal affinity for authoritarian leaders, particularly Russian President Vladimir Putin, raised concerns about his commitment to defending democratic values and institutions. Trump's public pronouncements often seem to align more closely with the Kremlin's narrative than with the assessments of his own intelligence community, further sowing distrust and confusion among European allies. The North Atlantic Treaty Organization, NATO, the cornerstone of European security for over 7 decades, is facing an unprecedented crisis of confidence. This alliance, which has been a bedrock of stability and a deterrent against aggression, now finds itself at a crossroads. The alliance, founded in 1949 to deter Soviet aggression and protect its members from attack, is now grappling with internal divisions, external threats, and a fundamental questioning of its raison d'etre. The unity that once defined NATO is being tested like never before. At the heart of NATO's current woes lies the erosion of trust in the U.S. security guarantee. The United States, long seen as the linchpin of the alliance, is now viewed with suspicion and uncertainty by its European partners. Trump's America First approach, coupled with his repeated criticism of NATO allies for not spending enough on defense, has left many European leaders wondering whether the United States would still be willing to come to their aid in the event of a crisis. This has led to a palpable sense of unease and mistrust within the alliance. This uncertainty has been exacerbated by Trump's apparent affinity for Russian President Vladimir Putin, whom many in Europe view as a direct threat to their security. The relationship between Trump and Putin has cast a long shadow over NATO's cohesion. Trump's reluctance to criticize Putin, even in the face of aggressive Russian actions in Ukraine and elsewhere, has fueled suspicions that he may be willing to accommodate Russian interests at the expense of NATO allies. This has led to a growing sense of vulnerability among European nations. The erosion of US leadership has also created a vacuum at the heart of NATO, leaving the alliance rudderless and divided. Without strong leadership from Washington, NATO's ability to respond to threats and maintain its strategic direction is in jeopardy. Without a clear sense of direction from Washington, European allies have struggled to forge a common response to the myriad challenges confronting the alliance, from Russian aggression to terrorism to the rise of China. The future of NATO hangs in the balance, as it seeks to redefine its purpose and restore the trust that has been lost. Section 4. The call for European strategic autonomy. The perceived decline of US leadership and the growing uncertainty surrounding the transatlantic alliance have fueled a growing chorus of voices calling for greater European strategic autonomy. This call for Europe to take on a more independent role in its own defense is driven by a number of factors, including a desire to reduce reliance on the United States, a recognition of the evolving nature of security threats, and a belief that Europe can and should play a more assertive role on the global stage. Proponents of European strategic autonomy argue that the continent can no longer afford to rely solely on the United States for its security. They point to the Trump administration's questioning of long-held U.S. security commitments, as well as to the shifting geopolitical landscape, as evidence that Europe needs to be prepared to defend itself. The nature of security threats is also evolving, with terrorism, cyber attacks, and hybrid warfare posing new challenges that are not easily addressed by traditional military means. These threats, which often originate from within Europe's own borders, or from its immediate neighborhood, require a more comprehensive and integrated approach to security that goes beyond traditional military alliances. Section 5. Russia resurgent exploiting Western divisions. Russia, under the leadership of Vladimir Putin, has emerged as a major beneficiary of the perceived weakening of the West. Over the past decade, Putin has strategically positioned Russia to take advantage of the growing rifts and uncertainties within Western nations. Sensing an opportunity to reassert its influence on the world stage, the Kremlin has adopted a multi-pronged strategy aimed at exploiting divisions within and between Western nations, undermining trust in democratic institutions, and ultimately restoring Russia to its former position as a great power. This strategy includes a mix of political maneuvering, economic leverage, and military posturing. One of Russia's key tactics has been to exploit existing fault lines within Western societies, using disinformation campaigns, cyber attacks, and other forms of hybrid warfare to sow discord and undermine public trust in democratic institutions. These efforts are designed to create confusion and erode the social fabric of Western countries. By leveraging advanced technology and sophisticated propaganda techniques, Russia has been able to amplify its influence far beyond its borders. Cyber attacks on critical infrastructure, election interference, and the spread of fake news are just a few examples of how Russia has weaponized information to achieve its goals. By amplifying existing divisions over issues such as immigration, identity, and economic inequality, Russia seeks to weaken Western resolve and create a more favorable environment for its own assertive foreign policy. These efforts are not just about creating chaos, but are aimed at shifting the balance of power in Russia's favor. Russia's strategy also involves direct engagement with Western political systems, often supporting fringe movements and populist leaders who are sympathetic to Russian interests. By doing so, Russia aims to destabilize established political orders and create opportunities for its own geopolitical ambitions. In addition to its efforts to undermine Western unity from within, Russia has also sought to weaken the transatlantic alliance by driving a wedge between the United States and its European partners. This has been particularly evident in its interactions with NATO and the European Union. Russia has capitalized on political shifts in the United States, particularly during the Trump administration. Trump's personal affinity for Putin and his questioning of long-held U.S. security commitments played into the Kremlin's hands, creating uncertainty and division within NATO. This has weakened the collective security framework that has been a cornerstone of Western defense policy. The Kremlin's efforts to exploit these divisions have not been limited to political rhetoric. They have also involved concrete actions such as military exercises near NATO borders and the deployment of advanced weaponry. These actions serve to remind the West of Russia's military capabilities and its willingness to use force if necessary. Creating uncertainty and division within NATO has been a key objective for Russia. By undermining the cohesion of this military alliance, Russia aims to reduce the effectiveness of Western collective defense measures and increase its own strategic freedom. Russia has also been quick to exploit the power vacuum created by the perceived decline of U.S. leadership. This has allowed Russia to assert itself more forcefully in its own neighborhood and beyond, often filling the gaps left by a retreating United States. Asserting itself more forcefully in its own neighborhood and beyond, Russia has demonstrated a willingness to use military force to advance its interests. This has been evident in various conflicts and geopolitical maneuvers. From its annexation of Crimea to its intervention in Syria, Russia has shown that it is prepared to take bold actions to secure its strategic objectives. These moves have not only challenged the Western-led international order, but have also reshaped the geopolitical landscape. Russia has demonstrated a willingness to use military force to advance its interests and challenge the Western-led international order. This aggressive posture serves as a stark reminder of the ongoing struggle for global influence and the lengths to which Russia is willing to go to achieve its goals.